We're the voices of experiencers, and we are the experiences with extraterrestrials.
You'll be reading about that in the book, and you just hear it. It's all through the phenomenon, and it sounds like this kind of breeding, hybrid, or just breeding kind of program or something going on. Of course, there's all kinds of speculation. Why is something going to happen? Maybe they don't have to start from scratch. They already have our DNA and what have you. But that's a show in and of itself. But, it's just the familiarity of hearing these stories over and over again that, for me, just lend more credence that this is not a mass hallucination, that these things are happening. These people are actually seeing and experiencing these scenarios.
It's time for disclosure. It's time for truth, because truth brings powerful transformations.
This is happening for them.
Yeah. You have space travelers and the affection traveling through space, creating another being from your genetics. What has to be a different process, Does that make sense? Because maybe they have to do it in these test tubes. Maybe they have to do it in these laboratories, and or maybe they're just taking stuff from other people and creating beings. I don't know. But like you said, Michael, we hear this all the time, that people see different situations where people are in, or beings are in a tube or a glass thing with water, and they're being created that way. But is that really crazy? No. Think about it. We do it here. We do it here with things.
We're the voices of change and profound evolution.
I was going to say, as a researcher, for the last 25 or 30 years, I've heard that many, many times. People have talked to me about being in a craft and seeing, either fetuses in tubes or all various life forms, in tubes and various stages of hybridization, looking more like them or looking more like us. And I personally have experience with missing pregnancy, which is all a part of it too. That goes back at least 40 years. Bud was getting letters back then, 40 years ago, about women that felt like they were pregnant, and then, or were, like in my case, confirmed pregnant by doctors, and then the pregnancy disappears around the same time you have this experience with them. And so what he's talking about is not anything that isn't pretty established, out there.
We're the bridge between two different worlds.
Yet.
Right. And some, I think, probably some can, some cannot. It might depend on the amount of DNA and all of that. That's something they do, we don't do, so who knows. But it's definitely, Deb, you said this happened to you 40 years ago, so it's, again, nothing new. But I do feel that this person that was regressed, part of his mission is to bring this information forward. People need to know that this is something that's going on. The human race is evolving.
Profound integration is coming.
We are the voices of experiencers because we are the experiencers. It's time for disclosure, and it's time for truth, because truth brings powerful transformation. We are the voices of change. We are about evolution on an expansive level, living life without fear and becoming the bridge between two different realities. Profound evolution is here. Profound integration is here. This is the Voices of Contact. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary. I'm a channeler and psychic medium. I'm also a hypnosis regressionist for ET experiencers, and I work with MUFON doing regression work. I also work with PTSD experiencers, paranormal experiencers, and victims of crime to assist them in recall. I'm really looking forward to another amazing show tonight with our panel. I just want to say to you guys that the work that you're doing here with me is so impactful, like literally it's life-changing. And I thank you for being a part of it and being here with me. It means more than you realize to me as well as the listeners. So, allow me to introduce some of my most favorite people. First, we have Deb and RJ DeRoos. They're authors, paranormal UFO researchers, and they're experiencers themselves. And they also are the founders of the Michigan UFO Contact that happens every year in Houghton Lake, Michigan at the end of September. They're owners and managers of Mystical Awakenings Radio, Mystical Awakening Podcast on the YouTube channel, and at the Mystical Awakenings Metaphysical Store in Houghton Lake, Michigan. Next, we have the fabulous and well-loved Michael Carter. He is a lifetime UFO contactee, author of Alien Scriptures, Extraterrestrials, and the Holy Bible. He's also a regular consultant on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens series and the Travel Channel's UFO Lost Evidence series, as well as being featured in several UFO documentaries. Last but definitely not least, we have our amazing new panelist, Deborah Jordan Cabo. She was the central figure in Bud Hopkins' international bestseller, Intruders, The Incredible Visitations at Copley Woods, which was actually made into a CBS miniseries in 1992. She's co-author of the book Abducted, The Story of the Intruders Continues, and author of Extraordinary Contact, Life Beyond Intruders. She's a former Indiana MUFON investigator and co-founder of her own paranormal group, Paranormal Underground, and host of the Midwest Paratalk podcast. With the amazing panel that we have tonight, I know that anything is possible. And we're going to get down deep into discovery and answers to what's actually really happening out there. This show is all about transmutating the light from the dark and replacing fear with knowledge.
Good.
Good.
Hi, Mary. Hi, Reverend
Hey,
Michael. And hi,
you
Deb.
guys.
Hey, y'all.
Hi, y'all. So tonight's episode is a continuation of last week's episode where the gentleman was taken to a craft that was a medical ship and he was having a procedure and he talked about the being that he connected with the most, who he named Dave. And if you remember from last week, to give the listeners a little of a follow-up, they talked about his whole procedure being about an upgrade to his energy and his vibration so that he could assist in the human evolution. So this is kind of a continuation of that. Very fascinating episode. Great people. I know everybody listening in, they're going to love it. So this first clip is where after his procedure, he finds himself in a whole different room with different beings, and he actually finds himself surrounded by ET beings or ET children along with these beings. So give me one moment and I'll play that clip.
Okay, well, let's move forward to another scenario. Let's move you forward to a moment when you were surrounded by children. They were ET children. Describe that for me.
Oh, okay. I'm sort of seeing the child, flashes of the child, but I'm sort of also seeing flashes of a room that's like a lab, vague outlines of like glass tubes, if you will.
What's in the glass tubes?
I mean, just a sense of like genetic, like beings, like there's beings there. I can't really see it.
So
We
this is
hear
what I
this so
find.
many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
we
and
hear
I
this,
find it
we hear this so
fascinating.
many times. You'll be reading about that in the book, and you know, you just hear it. It's all through the phenomenon, and it sounds like this kind of breeding hybrid or just breeding kind of program or something going on. Of course, there's all kinds of speculation. Why is something going to happen? Maybe they don't have to start from scratch. They already have our DNA and what have you. But that's a show in and of itself. But, it's just the familiarity of hearing these stories over and over again that for me just lend more credence that this is not a mass hallucination, that these things are happening. These people are actually seeing and experiencing these scenarios.
It seems like
it's no psychotic episode.
Yeah, when you
Right.
people have space travelers,
psychotic. This is happening for them.
Yeah, when you have space travelers and the effects of traveling through space, creating another being from your genetics, has to be a different process. Does that make sense? Because maybe they have to do it in these test tubes. Maybe they have to do it in these laboratories, and or maybe they're just taking stuff from other people and creating beings. I don't know, but like you said, Michael, we hear this all the time that people see different situations where people are in, or beings are in a tube or a glass thing with water, and they're being created that way. But is that really crazy? No. Think about it. We do it here. We do it here with things. Our own scientists.
Yeah, no, it does stretch the imagination for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then you have women who say, I've made love to these beings, or I woke up. And the thing is, though, for me is, just coming again, and I don't want to be it's not the only tool. What's the old saying? The only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But I am a clergy person, and I'm just saying that the Bible is full of stories like this.
Yeah.
The book of Enoch. Not exactly like this, but we've been seeded. We have been created by not a God, this omnipresent, omnipresent, omniscient, but by an advanced civilization or advanced civilizations. And this is not to stretch the imagination, that you would see these star people with different variations of humans or hybrids or both. And so it's not, what I'm saying is this is not new. Right. This is not new. It's new to some people who are not familiar or not experiencers, but right there, hidden in plain sight in your scriptures, whether they're the Upanishads or the Bible or the Quran, it's right there.
Right.
And so here we have this theme over and over and over again. Now, I try to have empathy, and I don't mean that in a hierarchical way, oh, poor babies, you'll get over it, but not that at all, but it's going to take a whole rethinking, revamping, revisioning what it means to be human and where our origins are coming from. And I think that's what's scary to folks. That's what's wrapping your mind around that, which is not to say there is no creator or creation, some energy, certainly not a gendered person, but these beings have created us or seeded us, and they have flaws, and they have wars, they have tempers, they have families, and this is what I think needs to be reinforced.
Right.
As a researcher, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go on. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, as a researcher, for the last 25 or 30 years, I've heard that many, many times. People have talked to me about being in a craft and seeing, either fetuses in tubes or various life forms, in tubes and various stages of hybridization, looking more like them or looking more like us. And I personally have experience with missing pregnancy, which is all a part of it too. That goes back at least 40 years. I mean, Bud was getting letters back then, 40 years ago about women that felt like they were pregnant and then, or were like in my case, confirmed pregnant by doctors. And then the pregnancy disappears around the same time you have this experience with them. And so what he's talking about is not anything that isn't pretty established, out there. I've heard different people have said they've been told different things, but like in my case and in other people's cases that I've heard, that people have talked to me about. I mean, a lot of people talk to me about it because of the fact that I had the experience. So they feel more comfortable sharing with me because they already know my experience. That's pretty out there. And I know it sounds crazy, but it is what it is.
Did they ever show you the result?
I saw a child. Yes.
Yes.
I saw a child who looked as human as me or you, mostly. Yeah. I mean, kind of frail, but more human than anything else. And and I mentioned it last time we talked about this fella, that at one point the interaction with the familiar one wanted me to know that this was a good thing and I should be happy about it. Why am I upset? Because I wanted to take her home with me. And they said, no, you can't because you couldn't feed her.
Right.
And so, but he said it was a good thing. And so, it goes back to, I think what Michael said about the evolution and hybrids and creating a better version of human or something, but anyway, so I don't know. I was just kind of taken aback when I heard him talking about that because it's such a personal thing for me as well. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Deb, my heart's with you.
I'm good. Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah. And I totally agree. This is not something new. It's been going on for a long, long time.
It's hard to talk about though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it makes me wonder how many people out there who've they're willing to speak about their experiences with these grays, but when it comes to something this personal, I mean, I came this close to not allowing any of it to be in the Bud's book. Well, I was okay with talking about seeing aliens and spacecraft and burned in the yard and all that, but when it came to this part, I just didn't. It was very hard.
Painful.
So there's a lot. So there got to be a whole bunch of folks out there that aren't talking about it.
Right. I've seen a lot of shows that they talk to women that had the same experiences and they were actually shown the child and same thing. You can't take it. And it never dawned on me that the feeding thing. Yeah, it makes sense. It's probably a physical thing why you can't take them because they can't survive in our environment yet.
Well, right. And I think probably some can, some cannot. It might depend on the amount of DNA and all of that. I mean, that's something they do, we don't do. So who knows? But it's definitely, Deb, you said this happened to you 40 years ago. So it's, again, nothing new. But I do feel that this person that was regressed, part of his mission is to bring this information forward. People need to know that this is something that's going on. The human race is evolving, and not only on our planet and not only with us, but in other areas of our galaxy. I mean, bless him for being brave enough to allow this regression to come out publicly like this. I'm sure there's a lot of people that might think all of us are crazy, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So this next clip, because in his initial memory, he couldn't really remember what he could see in the glass tubes. So I bring him closer to the glass tubes so that he can describe actually what he's seeing in them. So give me one moment.
Let's move you a little bit closer to those glass tubes. Let's move just a little bit closer and take a closer look and describe what you see in those glass tubes for me.
I'm seeing like a humanoid. In this one, like a child, but not a baby, like a white skin, very human, except for the facial features are, I think, a little different. The eyes are bigger, but it's hard to see. The eyes are closed. Maybe a little more triangular face. I could see the hair floating.
Do you know why you're in the room?
I try and see more. Am I with anybody? Oh. Well, I feel like when I turn around, I feel like maybe that Dave is there with me again. Like this may be on this same ship, which I've never noticed before. Could be. Feels like I'm there with him. Dave, what is this about? You volunteered to participate in this experiment through your bloodline.
Makes you wonder how far back that bloodline goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't help but think maybe there's a contract too involved in this. But
Nick, our ancestors made a deal with somebody, and we've just been scooped up into it.
Yeah, I mean, but
born
if
into it.
Yeah, if you think about our planet, what does our planet, what does an Earth-like planet have to offer? It has to offer genetics because it's so diverse with genetics, and I think this goes on in a lot of planets that are like ours because it has water and there's so much diverse life on it that a lot of genetic things go on here from extraterrestrials who are more advanced. And so, I think they sit back and watch it happen, but I at some point in time, they come in and change it or experiment with it. And here we are, because we had a denizen race of people here. We had Neanderthal. We've had in Indonesia, we had a small, they call it the Hobbit race. And then all of a sudden, Homo sapiens show up, just out of the blue. And I don't think that happens out of the blue. I think it has to be something that was done on purpose.
Does this man have other members of his family or involved? Have they had experiences that he is
other
aware of?
regressions that I've done with him, they talk about how they took his father's DNA, that it goes back even to his grandfather, where they've taken DNA, and this is a bloodline that has gone on and on. Like there's a whole family of experiences.
Okay. That's very common.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, and it really makes you think about how many humans on this planet have DNA that is not from this planet.
Well, I can tell you my DNA tests all say I have 0.02% unknown.
Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
My girlfriend's DNA, she doesn't have any of that on hers.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But a lot of people do. I mean, I'm not saying it's any alien, but I'm just saying I think it's odd that they just haven't found it yet. I'm sure they will, but because I'm a mixed I'm like a Heinz 57
Yeah.
mixed. I got a little bit of everything.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's in my case as well. Common theme, generational. So that
I think, I don't know if I was discussing this. I think I was discussing with you, Mary, when I had you on the show. This retired OSI Richard Dottie agent. He was talking about that. He was in charge of checking out people who've had experiences in UFOs and crashes and everything. But he said a funny thing to me. He said, when we checked this girl out and did some testing on him, DNA testing, she had alien DNA, and he said that's we don't care. A lot of people have that. He said a lot of people. So that struck me as cool, really. I mean, there's a lot of us that have the DNA in us, and it comes from somewhere. And we only know so much of our DNA. Like you said, you had 0.2%.
I'm looking mine up.
She had Neanderthal DNA in her.
Oh, I had 257 or 274 variants of Neanderthal DNA in mine.
Right.
Yeah, mine's really high too.
So it's interesting. They came from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you think about the evolution of the people, now if you look at the kids today, totally different. The way they think, the way they act, they're totally different than generations before them. Things like autism, everybody has somebody in their family or somebody they know that is autistic. Is that an accident? I don't think so.
My granddaughter was playing on a computer when she was 5. I couldn't even turn one on till I was 34. So,
right, exactly.
The kids today are so smart.
Yeah, and they're being geared for different things than we were. It's easy for parents to say, especially older parents like us, well, when I was a kid, we did this, this, and this. Well, these kids are geared more toward technology and what's to come in their time. So it's totally different. And I think most of them are starseeds. I think it's just the common thing now.
I should have known she had Neanderthal DNA when she hit me over the head and dragged me by my hair. So I should have picked it up right away.
Was that a clue, RJ?
And then he married me. So what does that tell you?
He liked it. Tells me he liked it. Yeah.
Well, at least he didn't bite your head off and you died. You know
That's
what I
true.
mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
No, that's just the praying mantis that does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Black Widow does something like that too.
But yeah,
That's true.
we have so much of what they call junk DNA.
251.
And where does that come from? I think it's a key to learning about us when we figure out what that junk DNA is. Because DNA tells you where you're from, and where you came from.
Yeah.
And DNA can be programmed.
Yes.
There may be more information in our DNA that we just haven't learned how to access yet that will tell us more about who we are and where we come from.
And trust me, they're not telling us all they're doing with DNA research. I'll tell you right now. I was watching today that they in mice, they've found a way to make them live longer. And it makes me wonder that back in the day, with all the Enoch and everybody else, when they lived so long, and the Sumerian kings, I think it was, they lived, 800,000-900,000 years. I wondered if their DNA was different.
Well, some of them were extraterrestrial, and then when some of these folks left the planet and they left priests and rulers behind, some of them were human, obviously, but some of them were hybrids, and so they did have that DNA. I mean, listen, even if you want to look at it in this way. Quantum physics, well, not quantum physics, but physicists tell us that the same things that are in the universe, the same ingredients, for lack of a better word, we have in us. So in some ways, even without this phenomenon, we are made of star stuff. You know,
Yeah.
even if you don't adhere to an extraterrestrial hypothesis. So definitely we are composed of all the matter and all the, things that make up this galaxy. They can all be found in some way, shape, or form in the human body.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Next
All
clip.
right. So for the next clip, we kind of move forward a little bit, and this is where at a point he goes through a 6-month period where he has a certain being that's with him continuously. And for my personal belief, I almost feel like it's almost like a spiritual awakening, where after he had his initial experiences and he started remembering them, more things started opening up for him and more energy started coming towards him. So give me one moment.
Okay, so let's drift away from that scene. We're going to drift away from that scene and we're going to move forward to more important moments in the lifetime that we're talking about. And you were discussing a 6-month period in the year of 2008 and 2009 where a lot of odd things occurred and happened, where you even sensed, you felt that there was a being with you. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I can feel that energy. The being it almost looks like a gray. I just, the sense of it is a gray with a very powerful mental capacity that just overwhelms you when he's near. There was an event where I woke up to the energy in my home so strong. Felt this energy in the house, in the room. I never went to it that I can recall, but I could feel it standing outside my doorway.
So yeah, difficult to hear, but he talks about how he began to feel this energy of a great being, that the energy was so powerful that anytime it was near, you couldn't help but feel it. Like literally it'd wake him up in the middle of the night and he would know that it was just standing outside his doorway. Which is a completely different description of the other beings he's described.
Yeah. And I would assume, like anything else, some beings have stronger energy than others. Bill talked about that quite a bit too, that he could oftentimes not even see them or hear them, but he could feel them. He knew they were there. I think any of us who have had contact know that feeling, that you just feel them. And some do feel different than others. I don't know if I felt that strong energy, but it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that energy, I know that feeling, but it always was just associated with one particular entity. And so, maybe it was his, like I have mine, I called him mine, for I felt like he was with me my whole life. Maybe that was his. Oh.
Like his Dave.
His Dave.
His Dave, yeah. Yeah, Richard he was talking about that's how they can recognize who these beings are by they have something that can detect their energy, their frequencies. And we all have different frequencies and different energies, and And when we meet somebody that we just connect with, because we're on the same frequency, we're on the same vibration, whatever. But yeah, different beings have different types of energy.
Different human beings. I mean,
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point in my life where if I'm intimately close, like my BFF I've known for 50 years, she can walk up behind me and not say a word, and I will know it's her because I
Right.
feel her. And everyone's, to me anyway, I can't prove it, but to me, everyone's energy is like a fingerprint. Everybody feels different. Everybody has a different slight feel.
Yeah.
My husband, he can walk up behind me and I know it's him immediately. Also, interestingly, though, a stranger could walk up behind me and I'll know I don't know them. I won't know who they are, but I'll recognize that their energy is not familiar. So maybe it's something that it gets turned on early on in the beginning, and it's because of how powerful their energy is, or maybe it's used somehow, turned on to use to communicate in a way. But like I said, everyone's energy is like a fingerprint, so it's in a form of communication,
Yep.
Right. Well, if you think back to last week when he saw that being with a triangular flat head, not very attractive, but it felt happy. He felt happiness. So, that energy tells us so many different things.
Yeah.
Can you trust somebody? When we meet somebody, we kind of get that sense, if you're on the same vibrational level, if you can trust them, if you can't trust them, if you feel like you need to flee right away.
I've walked past some people at the Walmart and I knew immediately I needed to go in the opposite direction. Just,
right.
Yeah.
So even though he's saying this energy is really strong, he's not saying he's afraid of it.
Right.
So.
And that's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So for this next clip, it delves more into the purpose that this being has with him, why he's been with him, and the next steps that he's going to be taken with this particular being. So just give me one moment.
Very strongly.
What is his purpose there?
It is activating me.
What is he activating?
Activating and awakening me to my connection and mission, my connection to the extraterrestrial family that I've been working with all those years, but now is the time to take the next step. And
what's the next step to take?
Well, bringing it into conscious awareness, into calibrating that, learning to accept that without fear.
So again, without fear, and activating his conscious awareness so that he can share with other people. I don't think he realizes just how big his mission is. It's more than just his DNA and using his DNA to create hybrids. It's activating the consciousness of everybody. Awakening. Yeah.
Yeah, the information that he's bringing forward is huge in this evolution. And I agree, he doesn't even realize probably how big his mission really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
and that goes for all of us, really.
Yeah. And some of it isn't information that we don't know or haven't known, but it's bringing that awareness back.
It's bringing it to the consciousness. It's bringing it from the subconscious to the conscious, because I think it's in all of us, or most of us anyway. And what he's doing is helping everyone to remember who they are, why they're here, or what they are.
Yeah, and realize the connection.
Mm-hmm.
The collective consciousness.
That's right.
That's a real thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, well, Carl Jung talked about it.
Yeah.
Almost 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the preparation for us to be in contact with other beings that don't look like us.
Yeah.
That is we can't, as a human species right now, we can't even, can't get along because
with each other.
Yeah, with each other. So it is a big step to try to get us to realize, hey, there are folks out there that,
and to not be afraid.
Yeah, not to be afraid.
I've been pounded for years that fear slows down the whole process, and that it was important to overcome my fear, because I had plenty of it, and I noted that he was kind of going that way too.
Yeah. And I think it's not so much fear in the sense of, fear, you make your choice, love or fear. But remember, it's okay to be afraid. It's just not to let your fear get in the way of your progress,
right?
Of your change. For me, again, that comes back to, what does that look like? What does it look like? What does your mission look like? How would you know if you accomplished your mission? I say that because if you look at all these saints and avatars, whether it's Jesus or Joan of Arc or what have you, you got to see what that ministry looked like. Right now, if I say to you, well, I just had a visit last night and I'm telling you that, wouldn't it come in your mind, because you want to envision, you got to have a vision. What would that look like, Michael? How would you know that you are accomplishing your mission? Because otherwise, it just seems like kumbaya. I'm just here to wake you up, and we're all going to hold hands. What does that look like? How will you know? Because we're all doing a mission. His mission is no bigger than anyone else's.
Right.
For the fact that he's not doing it alone.
Right.
That's how cults are formed. Well, we all have a mission.
Instead of saying the difference between a cult and that, you come out and say, hey, we all have this mission.
And then so I go back to, what does that look like? And how has that changed you?
Yeah.
Where were you before? And now you're having these experiences. Where are you now?
Right.
Because that way I can see you. Because I'll know what you believe, and I'll know what your mission is when I see you doing it, how you live.
Yeah.
That's where the rubber meets the road. How do I live now? And so to me, that's always the crux of the matter.
Yeah.
Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once the mind is stretched, it can never go back to its original dimensions.
Right.
And I think when you read that book, you'll see how these people have changed. Go back and read Abduction, John Mack's book. These experiencers are telling you the same things, but they're also telling you how they changed.
Yeah.
Right.
And not only telling you, you'll see it. And it doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be, last night I'm smoking crack, now I'm feeding the homeless. It's just the subtlety or the not so subtlety of, I wasn't smoking crack last night.
I love you, Michael.
Maybe later tonight. But you know what I mean? Because I know with you guys here, I listen to you, and you tell me, what you used to believe, where you came from, and look where you are now. And you talk about vibrations and feeling. You guys are living the mission, however you interpret it. But you know it. If someone would say to me, Deb Cobble, I know that doesn't even sound like Deb to me. That's not her. That's not the person Deb I know. Do you know what I mean?
Her friend proved that.
Now I can't say that about RJ. I don't know. But I can and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I'm just saying I want to. What changed? Tell me what changed, so I can see it.
Right.
And Deb talked about Deb too, giving people hope. Once I see that change, once I see where you were and where you are now, or where you say you are now I got a blueprint.
Mhm.
I got a blueprint.
Don't you think sometimes people don't even know that they have a mission?
Oh, a lot of times.
I do, but I don't think that I know what their mission should be.
Right. And I don't think
You
that
know,
we
that,
know sometimes
because some people may
be.
take a whole lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's not going to go to this dimension in this lifetime because of circumstances, probably karmic circumstances. It's more complicated than I think that sometimes it's led on to, but maybe not knowing that they have a mission is the mission, so they know next time that I am here for a purpose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not
Right.
just So those are the layers of things
Mm-hmm.
that I think sometimes we can gloss over.
Right.
And our mission may be very, very different.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are supposed to be asleep during this time. I can say to someone, I don't know what your mission is, but I know you are here for something.
Right.
That's positive.
And
Because I got news for you. Everybody's not going to evolve at the same time.
no.
But you don't need everybody to.
No.
You don't
And
need
you
everybody to.
You
But
said
yeah.
something about sleeping. Some people are supposed to be asleep while they're
Yeah.
here now.
Yeah.
And what came
Yeah.
into my mind at that moment when you said that was, it's easier to plant a seed in a sleeping mind when it's quiet than it is to try and
Yeah.
plant them when they're awake. So
Agreed. Because
you know
guess
what I mean?
what, gang? Probably in another lifetime or several lifetimes, we were asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to forget that
Mhm.
we were aware of some of these, whether you're talking about Democrats, Republicans, we were there. You know what I mean? And so it just kind of humbles. It keeps the
Mhm.
humility there.
Well, there's nothing like
Keeps the I don't know there.
There's nothing like a good nap. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's a
Especially
red
our-
flag if I encounter someone that has all the answers to everything in the whole wide world and every experience, that's a great big red flag for me.
For a lot of people, it isn't. That's why we have cults. That's why we have people who don't know. We have people who give their power away because it's easier.
Yeah, they give it
in
away.
Those
That's
types
the
of
problem.
things.
Yeah.
I don't mean cult. I mean Christianity started out as a cult.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
So that's why for me, and I like to see the journey, or hear how'd you get there? Tell me what happened. Not because I think I did, but also I'm a visual person, and you can tell me these things, but I will know when I see how you live. When I see you say, well, this is where I was, Michael, and now this is what came over. You know what I mean? It's inspiring. There's nothing more inspiring than a life well lived, whether you're an experiencer or not.
Yeah.
It's nothing more inspiring than that.
Totally.
Right. And it's important to remember there is no I in collective consciousness. We're all connected. So, those out there listening, those out there listening, when somebody tells you, I have all the answers and this is the way I say you need to live and go, run.
Run.
Yeah. Most of us feel like, if we're here on a mission, we have that sense. Things like this show, The Voices of Contact, that was a download for Mary. This is part of her mission, but she didn't know it until that download came. The Michigan UFO Contact that has opened many minds in this area and helped so many, was part of our mission. It wasn't pre-planned. I didn't even know what the words were when it came out of my mouth that we are putting on a UFO convention. no idea. It wasn't pre-planned, so I didn't know that mission. I just, I think it's important for people to be okay with not knowing exactly what their mission is. I agree.
Trust the process.
How has
Trust the process.
how has this transformed your life? Absolutely, because we are not the same people we were before this happened.
We weren't the same people we were last year, for God's sakes.
Right.
Or even last night, for that matter.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm just, like I say, I'm just putting that out there. I think
it's great
when we're dealing with people, because a lot of people are going to be skeptical, and I'm not saying we're going to, but the proof is in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't worry about that. I don't have to prove anything or what have you. But this is it's just because part of your mission was putting on, maybe I think part of your mission, if you want to use that word, was doing the MUFON UFOCon, but that may be a very small part because you do so many other things.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But it was, you part of your mission, it sounds like to me, was that you were saying, I'm getting it, that there's the law of one. And so I try to live that. I try to live that. I know some of the things you do outside of this UFO community. So that, it's a bigger, it took me a long time to get it that I was more than a contactee.
Right.
I had to have a psychic tell me, and I'm still talking about it these 20 years later, that Michael, whatever comes through. I know this is something that you has happened to you, and yada yada yada. He said, but I just need to remind you that you are much more than this. So we put ourselves in boxes. Yeah. There's much more to my life than I have had contact with off-world intelligences. But if I don't think any bigger than that, that's all I am.
Right.
Gotcha.
Well said.
Yep.
All right. So for our last clip.
Oh my God, we were going over. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're all right. So for this last clip, he finds himself taken again, finds himself on the same craft that he was before. And with this, he remembers after this experience waking up with a mark on his arm. Now, I never get truly to how he gets the mark, but he talks about the part where he was taken and he receives the mark. Okay, so just give me one moment.
So let's move away from that scene. We'll leave that scene and we'll talk about another important moment that's happened in your life. And that important moment is when you woke up with your arm in pain and there was a symbol marked on your arm. I want to take you back to before you woke up and that symbol was placed there. Look around you and describe to me what's happening.
I feel like I'm in a craft or a ship or a room. I feel like I'm in a room that's like the tables and...
What do the tables look like? Describe them for me.
Like stainless steel. Like I'm sitting on one. I feel like there's other tables in the room.
Does it feel like the medical craft or is it a different type of craft?
I kind of feel like it's a safe ship. Because I kind of feel like it's those beings with the ginormous heads again. Around. Almost get a sense of very nursing energy. I don't know if they're, part of me thinks the praying mantis beings, but they're not quite that. I don't know what they are. But they don't, they're loving, they're helpful.
Is there anybody in the room with you?
Well, I feel like there's some of these, maybe a couple of these, female, nurse beings with the big head. Big triangular heads there. Hello? Is there anyone else there?
How do you get the marking on your arm?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to tune into that. I'm almost feeling like there's someone else there, something else, another being, a different kind of being.
Describe it for me.
What can I sense or feel? I feel like it's some kind of lion-like humanoid being that I encountered before.
Well, I always think there's going to be a job opportunity for these, be a professional decorator on these ships. It's stainless steel. I mean, it's always stainless steel. It's cold and hard. And so, anyway, that seems to be the norm, I guess.
So does he still have the mark on his arm?
No, I don't think he does. No. It was just a red mark when he woke up.
Okay. Because
So
at first I was thinking of branding or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he just had the initial red mark when he woke up. It didn't leave any kind of scars as far as I know.
Okay. Interesting. And it seems as though he has contact with several different beings. He said these kind of look possible mantis beings, but loving.
Triangular head beings.
Yeah. In my experience, not all mantis beings are not loving. You know what I mean? There are some very good ones. There are some that I have no fear of. I'm not saying that is what they are, but I'm saying it's a good possibility in my thinking anyways.
Yeah, I heard someone that I won't mention the name, but they described these beings that had triangular heads, very tall. So I've heard that before.
Did I hear him say humanoid being too?
Yes. Yep, and he described the last being as a lion type looking being.
Yeah, feline species.
Yeah.
Well documented by everybody even throughout history. Yep.
But I always find it interesting when and we talked before the show, Mary. I've had experiences with that the ship with the like the big city and many different beings, and I find it interesting and wonderful that you have different types of beings on the same ship, seemingly with the same mission, all working together. Isn't that that's wonderful? It's something humans need to learn to do. So I like that.
It gives us hope.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of them out there, and it's a good thing some of them get along for sure. It's a good thing that some of them like us,
Yeah.
So it's just, if you can imagine this planet evolving with all the different species of animals and insects, eventually they would evolve into an intelligent being, I would think. And that's probably what happened on other planets, that insects evolved into an intelligent being to where it's capable of doing a lot more than what they do here. Same thing with a lion. Same thing with many things. So
It's all about that evolution, isn't it?
yeah, it's about the evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right, you guys. That's all we have for tonight's show.
All right.
We're at
Thank
our
you.
limit. So I want to thank you guys for everything in the audience for tuning
Thank
in.
you.
And I'm looking forward to next week.
So are we. Thank you,
Love you
everybody.
guys.
Love you
Thank
all.
you. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.